You had mentioned earlier about some advice you had been given,
Mm.
and I'm sure you and Sean were given lots of advice. And now you, as a person who provides advice to a range of other startups, maybe give us a couple of examples of good advice you received, but equally maybe some bad advice that you hopefully ignored, but would still be interested in hearing some of the bad advice that you got.
For sure. I mean, we got a ton of bad advice. I think the general form of bad advice is very strong and specific advice from a totally different context, or very strong and specific advice where if you peel the onion behind that advice, it turns out that somebody got hurt or that somebody got injured in a figurative sense. They got injured or hurt or disillusioned. And without really knowing, they've wrapped it in all these layers, and now they proffer it as advice to the world around them. I feel like everyone is an expert on their unique past, but they're not great at calculating the relevance of that past to a new situation. And as I mentioned, when they've been slighted or burned, then those old feelings die hard. So when being offered advice, I would always just try to stare. I mean, again, figuratively, not stare at them awkwardly, but I would kind of stare into them. I would think to myself, where are they coming from? Is all this information they're giving us, is it coming from them, or is it coming from what we've just told them? If they had been listening carefully and they had really heard what we were saying, and then they gave us advice, I thought, okay, I'm going to listen more closely to that. So one of the bits of advice I think would qualify as bad advice was what I would call the shortcut category, or the take shortcuts category of advice. And this is when you'd be pitching an investor or a potential investor, and they would say, wow, well, guys, if you just do this, and this plus this, you could turn the crank and, make money even faster. And it always felt like almost every time we tried to take some shortcut, it didn't work. And pretty soon we stopped trying to do that. And in fact, I remember the counter to that is a series of just fantastic essays by Paul Graham. Those were a major source of inspiration and good advice for us in the early days. We get on Paul Graham's, YC Combinator founder, we get on his essays site, and we would just start reading Paul Graham essays. One of them, for example, says, if you're a small, nimble person and you're being chased by like a big bully and you hit a stairwell, what's your decision? Do you go down the stairs or do you go up the stairs? It's like, you go down the stairs, then they'll run just as fast as you do. But if you go up the stairs, take the harder choice, you have a better chance at outrunning them. And we would often think about that example. Sometimes we'd laugh about it when things were tough, and we would say, you know what, let's make the harder decision here and take the harder path and just dig in.